built the test in Illuminate this way. You could do that, or you could certainly go to the item bank if you don't have an assessment created already, and you could create the assessment from the item bank. Yep.
Are you talking about, is that for teacher accountability of data manipulation? Is that what you're?
I don't think we have common assessment. We're too small. We don't have the time to sit our staff down and say, create a common assessment. What I think is here is on these test banks that you can create it to cover a standard.
Right.
And here it is.
So when you click on the standard where it says none, when you click on that,
It'll give you a series of questions. And you select a question, and those questions relate to.
But
we're probably all in the same boat with, if you analyze your College Board data, we're probably all struggling in the high level 4 depth of knowledge questions. And so if I'm not mistaken, when I did this first, everybody's like, how do we analyze the data? My wife talks about it all the time. We said, talk about how are we gonna get our students to get to be above state level on these level 4 depth of knowledge questions. And so I think that with a test bank, we're too small to be able to spend the time to create our assessments. I don't have the resources to say, okay, I'm gonna send my math department, we're all gonna learn how to create assessments.
So there's a couple things I want to show you. One is the way that you would create an item bank assessment is kind of similar to this, but the beginning steps are a little bit different. So I can show you this one. This is what you would do if you already have an assessment. Classroom is a perfect example. I already have a classroom assessment that I want to put in the system. This is how I create the answer sheet. On a bigger scale though, if I want to create more common, summative assessments or benchmark assessments, I could pull from the item bank. And there's a third option I'll show you, which is those who created the Smarter Balance assessment, the company's called Inspect. They already have built assessments at every grade level throughout the course of the year that you can just look at those and then you can tweak them if you don't like them. So, because I will tell you, it is time consuming to go through the item bank and pull the items together, so maybe the ones that are already pre-built could serve as the basis.
But if you can identify the standard, you can select it. Is that how, that's how I understand it works?
That is exactly how it works. I just found in our practice that combing through 500 questions that are tied to a standard takes some time. But again, that's just been our experience. But it can certainly be done. Yep. All right. So the last thing I want to show you on this screen, what if I have a rubric question? So the kid can get a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 on question 9 or question 10. Here's how you set it up. This column right here, I'm going to check, and I'm going to say, yep, this is a rubric question. Over here under correct, I'm going to put 5, and then under points, I'm going to put 5. So what that means is that the kid can get up to 5 on the rubric, and it's worth 5 points. That's the only way you can do partial credit in the system. If I forget to check that rubric box, you got to get a 5, and if you don't get a 5, you get 0 points. So it's important to check that rubric box to give partial credit. Down here, I'm going to do the same thing. 5, and then 5. So we have built a lot of assessments in Calhoun where we've taken the Teachers Writing College, Lucy Calkins writing rubrics, SAT writing rubrics, and we have made assessments that match the rubric. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. Does everybody understand what I just did? 8 multiple choice questions, 2 rubric questions. Both worth 5 points. Sweet. I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And I'm basically done. I can administer the test at this point. Okay? I can administer the test, that's why it comes to this screen. I'm not going to do that because I want to add perhaps my SLOs, my I can statements, or my standards. So to do that, you guys good so far? All right, this button right here, setup. This is key. This is where we're going to do most of the setup for the assessment. So I'm going to go through, if I want to get back to that same screen I was on before, I can go setup and then answer key, and that takes me right back to this screen. That was setup, answer key. I can also go setup and then standards. So if I want to add standards to my test, I go setup and then standards.
Now, I have here that says questions is 0. So there's 0 standards in 6th grade math.
All right, so what I do next is under subject area, drop down menu, I go ahead and I pick which standard set I want to choose from. So for this, and by the way, there's Common Core here, there are the Glicks, there are the Huskies, Next Gen Science standards are in there. College and career ready, yeah, there are a lot of standards that are in there. I'm going to go ahead and just pick math, and I'm going to pick, let's go statistics and probability at high school. I like data, so I'm going to go with that one. I'm going to go ahead and click search. The standards that match that criteria show up. I can click the plus to dig down and be as specific as I want with the standard, or I can be as general as I want, and I can check this box up here. So essentially, I just need to expand it till I find the stuff that I want to assess. And I check the box. When we make the item bank assessments, this is the same way that you would pick and look for the items. Yep. Next, I'm going to go ahead and scroll down, and I'm going to click Link Selected Standards. It shows me the standards that I picked, and as Nate pointed out, there's a 0 next to each one. And that's okay. All that's saying is that you currently have 0 questions aligned to those standards, because the next step is aligning the questions to the standards. All right, so how do we align the questions to the standards? It's still in that setup menu, same setup menu we've been using. We go to setup, and then we go to standards alignment. And this is where we say, this question goes with this standard. So question 1 goes with these 2 standards. Question 2 goes with this one, and then you just, I wish it were this easy. We had a question that came up earlier. Can you go back, can you give the test and then go back and do this after you've already entered the data? Yes, you can. I will tell you based on my practice, that doesn't usually happen. Especially when I work with secondary folks, this can be a roadblock. It's an interesting roadblock though, because when people bring their tests and they want to learn, they have their test and they want to learn how to put it into the system. And I say you need the answer key and you need the standards alignment. The standards alignment is where it gets pretty interesting, because I'm finding that some folks may not know what standards are aligned to those questions. And so that makes this part really difficult. So in an optimal world, people would come to you with an answer key and what standards, SLOs, or learning targets are attached. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And now these standards are attached to the questions that I've selected. And you see this screen looks different than it did before because we've attached standards. We good? Okay. I have found that most secondary folks are not aligning to standards, but they are aligning to student-friendly learning targets, because that verbiage is what they use in the classroom. So let me show you how to do that. We're going to go to Setup, Question Groups. Setup, and then Question Groups. Here, we can click this Add Question Group button. You can type whatever you want. You can, like I said, it's totally up to you. The beauty of using question groups is that this is what prints out on your reports. So all those colorful reports that I showed you, this is, excuse me, this is what prints out. So if I were to give a kid a report that had the standard codes on it, some kids may be able to figure out with enough help what the standards mean, but most teachers are working in learning target, SLOs. That might be verbiage that's more familiar to kids. So if we can print out a report that actually has that kid-friendly verbiage, then the kid can use it to figure out what are their next steps in learning.
Can you connect both of them?
You got it?
Okay.
So the reports, you can choose when you print the reports out, do you want standards,
Right.
or question groups, or both? Yep. I'm going to go ahead and click Save. I've created the question groups, and you'll notice again, there are 0 questions. I can go to Setup, and then Question Group Alignment, and it's the same idea. So that's under setup and then question group alignment. Question 1 is DOK4 and then so now these questions are aligned to standards and question groups, which is a little bit of overkill, but I think it's better than underkill.
Where at question?
Setup, question group alignment. Yep. All right, moving down that setup menu, performance bands. This is where you control the color coding and the cut points. So go ahead and click on setup and then performance bands, and you'll see a screen that looks maybe a little bit like this. What this screen is showing you are all the different ways that you can color code the data. So the first part is this, overall percent correct. And let me give you an example of what this looks like so you can see what this looks like on the reports. This chart right here, this donut chart, that's the overall percent correct. So right here where it says overall percent correct, whatever performance band we use is going to drive the color coding in this donut chart. If I scroll down and we have these standards, whatever performance band I use here on the standards is what's going to show up for those standards. So I can have a different performance band for the overall score than I do for certain standards. Or you can have it be all the same, doesn't matter.
Is there a way to adjust those?
Yes, good question. So the next question was, is there a way to adjust those? First of all, to know if you want to adjust them, if you click on the performance band, it will show you what's currently there. So this is a 5-band performance band. It shows you the cutoff points. It shows you what's mastery and what's not. Okay? But if you don't like this, no problem. You can make your own. To make your own, you click here. Add a new performance band set. And here's where you can set your cut points. You can also delete bands. So if you want stoplight colors, cool. Take away 2 and only have red, yellow, green. You can change the value, and you can change the label, and you can change the color. Make sense? Yeah, I mean, it's as long as the number statements that you have there match what you want, then you should be good. So I'm going to click Save and Return to Assessment. I made my sample JCISD performance band. Now I actually want to apply that band to the test. So I'm going to say, I want to apply that to my standards and to my question groups. So I check that top box and it selected all the boxes below it. And you can see right here, this little drop-down menu, it recognizes the one that I just created, my sample JCISD, that's the performance band that I want to apply. So now I go ahead and I click Apply, and here you go, boom. We got district default, and then sample JCISD.
How did you get back to there?
Setup?
Like I'm still where it says create. I created them, and then this is save.